Maddie, where have you been? It's okay. You don't have to.
In the sewers. Below Derry. That's where it lives. The clown.
Clown?
He kept some of us alive. Like it needed.
Fear.
Yeah.
How did you get away?
It feeds at night and sleeps in the day. And I just waited. And I ran.
What about Teddy? And Phil and Susie? Did you see them?
Teddy was dead when I dragged him in. His skull was ripped open. And
What?
I ate his brains right in front of me.
Hello, all. Welcome back to What's On Tonight, a podcast with elaborate, quirky, and unpredictable conversations about TV, movies, and more. I'm Becky.
And I'm Mandy.
Today we are covering episode 5 of HBO Max's show Welcome to Derry, titled 29 Neibolt Street. Please note this is a spoiler-filled podcast, so if you haven't watched the episode yet and don't want to be spoiled, no big deal. Just come back and check us out after you finish watching.
Episode 5 was written by Brad Caleb Kane. Why does Brad have 3 names? He's got 3 first names.
I wondered that.
All right. Written by Brad Caleb Kane, all 3 of those guys, and directed by Emmanuel Osai Kufor Jr. Emmanuel, I really hope I did your name justice.
I should have looked that up beforehand, but I didn't. Sorry.
I think I did all right.
I think you did great. It sounded good to me.
My last name was Bro. As you know, my last name was Bro, Brough, most of my life. Emmanuel, if I got it wrong, just know that I had the best intentions at heart, and I feel your pain.
And y'all can't see her. I just noticed Mandy's wearing the cutest little Santa Claus hat with her Christmas lights behind her. She is ready for Christmas.
I was putting my stuff up before we got on here. I'm all ready. I'm
very cute.
You gotta do what you gotta do to keep the old spirits.
Amen.
What's it matter? None of it matters anymore, man. Fuck it. Put your Christmas tree up.
All right. So, would you like to read the synopsis for this episode?
Absolutely, I will. Shaw tells Leroy his plan to obtain the pillars containing the entity so he can control it. I love how many ways that they can work it into.
I actually changed the...
I know. I noticed Becky capitalized it when she wrote out the summary. That's what I'm saying. I enjoy that. It's just funny to me how they call it, and it doesn't stand out in the capital letter. Anyway, whatever. I don't even know if I'm making any sense here. The group finds Maddie at their meeting place, and he reveals that Phil is alive. The Shakapiwa Friends of Matron Council talk about how, just like when he awakens, a deadly and violent act is imminent before the entity sleeps for 27 years and repeats its cycle. Rose tries to get Shaw to stop trying to capture the entity, but she fails because he's a shithead.
Oh my God, I have so much to say about that.
Hey, Hank is sent to Shawshank Prison, but the bus has an accident and he escapes. Which I'm kind of bummed about because I was hoping we were going to get an Andy Dufresne guest appearance.
Not going to lie, when the dad came running up to shoot Hank at the bus, I legit was like, oh my God, that's Andy Dufresne.
Oh, I thought that for just a half a second too. Yeah. And I looked up and I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
The children, along with Maddie and the newly arrived Marge, venture into the sewers in search of Phil after taking Lily's mother's pills to relax. Great moments in bad idea history. I was saving that line for later, but I think that's a perfect place.
It's great.
The army enters with Daniel, but the mission begins to go wrong.
Really? Weird.
Yeah. Couldn't have seen that one coming.
Right.
The children discover the bodies of their friends, and Maddie transforms into Pennywise, and they flee. Shocker. After Leroy hallucinates seeing Charlotte, Leroy and Polly encounter the children. Leroy fires, thinking Will is an illusion, but Polly intervenes, knowing he is real, and is killed.
Rest in peace, Polly. We hardly knew ye.
Literally. Pennywise tries to eat Lily. What made me laugh? Pennywise tries to eat Lily, but the pillar prevents him from doing so and leaves. Like, that's an accurate summation of what happened.
It is, and I laughed then, and I'm laughing now.
After his escape, Hank meets with Ingrid, and after a passionate kiss, you called that one, Becky, he tells her what to do to save him. So Ingrid goes to the base to visit Charlotte. While in the sewage tunnels, Halloran has a hallucination about his abusive father. I think that was his grandfather.
Oh, okay. I thought it was his dad. Sorry.
No, I think it was his granddad because I think it was his grandma's husband.
Yeah, I just figured like it was one of those situations where
they all lived together.
Yeah.
No, I could be wrong, but I think it was his granddad.
Let's go with you're wrong.
Okay. Never happened before, but I mean.
See, the better sister.
Girl, I got like 90% of that.
That's my joke is I got everything wrong in that show and you got everything right.
I've been wrong several times this time. Anyway, to wrap this up, while in the sewage tunnels, Halloran has a hallucination about his abusive father/grandfather. We don't know. During this, a box in his mind is opened, allowing locked away memories to return. He exits the sewers in a daze and sees a dead Polly. Dead Polly sounds like a great punk band name.
That does sound like a great name.
Yeah.
Dead Polly and there needs something maybe in the locked box.
Yeah, Dead Polly in the locked boxes. That's good.
All right, y'all.
Well, we know what we're going to do with all of our many, many hours of downtime between 17 podcasts and full-time jobs.
And the holidays.
And the holidays.
We're going to have a Christmas. Stay tuned for the
Christmas
Dead
album.
Polly in the Lockbox's Christmas album. It is coming to town.
Oh, look, you worked it in there.
I know.
I think what I meant to say is it's like, maybe I'm never going to be able to say it without seeing it in capitalization again. I think it's funny how every time you hear the word it in this series, you hear it in capital letters, like it's a proper name.
Right. I think I'm going to actively try to start speaking that way when in conversations with people.
You're just going to emphasize
the word it from now on. And I'm going to see. I'll report back next week how it goes. Yeah. See if anybody notices. Because you can tell people when you're saying weird stuff, but they don't want to say anything, but they get that look on their faces. I'm going to know. Stay tuned, everyone. All right. Well, let's get into this episode. Let's just get into it and I don't have too much to say about most of it.
Yeah. I'm going to just be real honest. I had some major issues with this episode.
Same.
Which is funny because I saw and of course, who knows people's motivations and everybody's got different opinions, but I saw a couple of TikToks of people saying that they thought this was the best episode yet. I do not agree.
Do you want to know why I think that is?
Why?
Pennywise. They got to see Pennywise
show up.
That is the only reason I think people are so jazzed about this is because they finally got their Pennywise sighting.
I think you're right. It absolutely makes sense, but it's crazy to me that was enough to pull together some pretty clunky things that were, but I mean, I didn't hate it. I will say that. There were things I really liked about it, but there was a lot that I just was.
Yeah, there were some eye rolls and some chuckles, not in a good way.
There was one scene where I literally was like, this episode just jumped the shark.
Oh, there were 3 scenes for me.
Okay.
Where this episode say that 5 times fast. Episode jumped the shark.
So let's just start in it. Okay, so the intro, I did notice again, and I saw a verification in a TikTok with Andy Machete this week that they are cranking up the eerie factor at the end of the opening credits every week to just dial up the tension a little bit. So I did enjoy that. I thought that was pretty cool. Opening scenes, we are in the interrogation room. Taniel and Dick are in there. Taniel's vomiting up something super disgusting.
Yeah, it looked like bile or foam. He was foaming at the mouth. I just wrote here. So Taniel had an adverse reaction to the mindfuckery.
Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Must be sensitive. I don't know. Anyway, it was pretty gross. And then, Shaw comes in and you would think these guys would feel kind of shitty about what they've just done to this poor kid. But no.
No. He just wants to know, did we get it?
Yeah.
And I mean, even Dick is struggling and he doesn't care. He's just like, yeah, right, suck it up, put some dirt on it and tell me, did we get it?
So then we cut to Marge and Lily.
Oh, this is my favorite part of the episode.
Yeah, they're in the hospital, and Marge says that she's sorry. She apologizes. She's not lost the eye. It looks like she just damaged her eyelid, right?
Looked to me like she still has the orb in there.
Eyeball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think she says that there's a good chance she might see again.
Okay. Well, she tells Lily that she's sorry for everything and that she's been wrong and that she's now fully aware that something horrible is out there and that she wants to know if it's going to come back again.
I loved Lily's response there. I don't know, but if it does, you won't be alone. We talked about her last week, but mad props again to Matilda for her portrayal of Marge. This character could go so wrong in somebody else's hands.
She's very sympathetic. Yeah.
So sympathetic. And that single tear streaming down her face when she's asking that question, is it going to happen again? I just loved that whole thing with the two of them together.
I still am not sure because I'm like getting head shy about a lot of these characters. And I know we saw like the lights in her glasses at one point. There's still part of me that is like, is Marge not infected anymore? Is she for real on the proto-loser side? Or is this just some further ploy on Pennywise's behalf? I don't know. By the end of the episode, I was leaning towards she's sincere.
Yeah, it to me seems very sincere. And when we get to the tunnel, I have a thought that I don't know if we'll ever see come to fruition, but I hope it does. And I think you'll agree with me. So remind me, tell you that when we get there.
And you can tell me if you can cut me off if this is what you were going to say. I saw an interesting TikTok this week about, I need to start paying attention to who the creators are that these guys, I'm going to start writing it down. I apologize if by any chance any of you guys out there are a TikTok creator and you ever hear me say something, you're like, hey, that's me. And she's not crediting me.
Comment and feedback and let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. If you ever hear that, please let me know. But I'm going to try to do better about making sure that I credit the creators that I've seen this. Anyway, I saw somebody today or this week that had a theory that Marge is Richie Tozer's mom.
That was my thing.
Was it? We'll can that for now and we'll go back to that when we get to the tunnel. Because I'd like to talk to you about why you think that. It didn't occur to me, but they had some really good thoughts. I'm curious to see if you're going to agree with it. So at any rate, now they're going back to the standpipe where everybody is going to hang out and they get there and start kind of game planning what they're going to do. And then they notice, surprise, apparently Maddie's still alive.
Here's the only notes I had here is Ronnie really wants people to go to the police.
Yeah.
Like 15 times this season, she's like, we have to go to the police. And I just want to be like, Ronnie, really? How in the world have the police been on your side at any point in this?
Right.
And do you
but
really
she's so
think they're good?
desperate.
I know, but I'm kind of over that. I get her. I love her emotions. She does a phenomenal job.
She's just kind of desperate, but right. Yeah, when have they proven that they're going to help in any way, shape, or form? Yeah, that's not helping. But I did feel bad that they told her yet again, we're not going to do that. Her having to hear no over and over and over again. One of the things I wrote was Lily said, everybody already thinks I'm crazy. And Rich is like, everyone thinks that.
That down to the look on Will's face, the look he gives to Rich after Rich says that is like, man, come on. It's classic Bill and Richie Tozier. Classic.
Yeah.
And then when they found Maddie in the tent, all I wrote here is, y'all, that ain't Maddie.
I wrote, Maddie? No, dog.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Dead up. Just looked like a corpse. Also, why is his hair so long? It hadn't been that long.
No, I love that. That's one of my notes when we get into the full conversation, but I could say it here. I loved the choice to age him. That boy looked several years older than when we last saw him. And second, I like the longer hair because it gives credence to the fact that he's been missing for months.
Has it been months?
Yeah.
See, I thought it'd only been a few weeks.
I thought it was several months.
I mean, that would make more sense considering how many times Lily's been to Juniper Hill. But I guess, well, then there you go. I thought it had only been a matter of a few weeks since all of this started or jumped off.
I took that as, I read that as a few months.
Well, he looked straight up like a corpse. I wouldn't have bought it. I'd been like getting out the holy water and the cross and being like, get thee behind me.
I agree. I would have too. But also, we have to keep going back to remembering these are children. And children who are desperate to be seen and heard and believed.
And want to believe that their friend is alive.
Yes.
So after the intro's done, we are in Shaw's office. And Shaw is yet again lying his ass off. He's telling Leroy his version of what they're planning on doing with it.
He's not lying. He tells them the truth.
Initially, he was trying to put the best spin on it that he possibly can. He wasn't fessing up. It was only after Leroy drilled down on him that he fessed up.
Yeah.
Well, yes. He makes it sound like they're trying to keep him even more contained. And Leroy's like, what do you really want? You know, like, you're going to try to, like, use this as a weapon. And then he's like, well, yeah, can you blame me? I just don't understand how anybody thought, Shaw, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, how did you look it in the eyes and now you think that it's something that could, I mean, it does seem very military, but this is where I'll say one of the things that I'm not loving about this episode, which is that I've already talked about a couple of episodes back. I was really hoping that we weren't going to have this heavy military. So I'm just not loving this storyline in general.
Yeah, they aren't selling it. When it first came out, I was annoyed, but then the way they kind of spun a few things, I was like, okay, this has promise.
This could be interesting.
But now I'm back to, this is so dumb, which we'll get to when we get into the sewers.
Yes.
We'll get more into it, but I am struggling with this. But I do like that Hanlon fought him. It was like, okay, you didn't think to tell me about this before I decided to move my family here. And I did think it was funny that Shaw, for once, is actually right. He's like, it was your choice to live off base. I told you to stay here.
Well, but if you'd mentioned the killer clown, like, I feel like that's
a live omission.
Yeah, it's kind of like when somebody sells your house and they don't mention that, like, their brother-in-law killed himself in the bedroom.
Or there was a slaughter.
Like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Or that you live above the sewers of it.
A haunted sewer with a 50 million-year-old alien that eats children. Right. I just feel like that's something they should let you know when you're reloading.
True.
So then, of course, we're back with the kids. That's where Maddie is going into more detail about what's been going on with him while he's kicking it in the sewers, which is where I full on knew that there's no way in hell that this was really Maddie.
No, but again, I loved this whole Maddie thing, even the way the reveal was made, which at this point, I'm assuming the audience already knew, but the way they get to this reveal, even at the end, I loved it. Pennywise is brilliant. I mean, the way he spins the tale that it sleeps during the day. So why not? Okay, well, we're safe during the day. So let's go during the day and try to save Phil.
Yeah.
And, the way he described Susie's death. And again, Ronnie says, let's go. You have to take him to the police. And the way he's so stern about them not going.
And it's believable because we know that his home life
was
although
crap.
We've never seen his parents, have we?
No, we never saw him, but I mean, he had 2 black eyes.
Right. We know that his dad, and everybody talks about that. Yeah. I think if I generally liked this episode better, I would have probably had more positive feelings about that specific storyline. I see what you're saying. And I think that, again, that's one of the things that I've really love about the story of it and the world building here is the evil that is inside and how he uses other people to manipulate. The psychological games that he plays with people are the most interesting. So you're right. I do think I should go back and rewatch one more time because I only got to watch once this week.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go back a second time and look at it.
Out of the context of everything. Yeah, you're right. No, now that I think about it. But because the thing is, like we already talked about, what really is selling this show is the amazing performances of all the actors, the entire cast. I can't think of anybody that's not doing a phenomenal job selling this show. And specifically the young actors, the kids, like they're doing just an amazing job. That was one thing that I really did like about it was his facial expressions. Like it's very subtle. But it's like that's how you knew it was it. But there's also like this room for doubt there because there were certain ways that he was moving his face that kind of mimic Bill Skarsgård in the way that he does Pennywise, but not like so. It was very subtle.
It wasn't in your face.
Right, right.
They gave audience room to wonder,
to have plausible deniability of.
Yeah, it was well done.
Yeah, I agree. And that's where, in that section is where I'd written, poor Ronnie, she just wants her dad out.
I know. She's like, please, can we go to the police? I'm like, stop. No, girl, no.
God love her.
I know.
So then we're at the meeting with the Friends of Maturin, where we find out that it poops, which, the book told us everybody poops. So I guess I should have known. But that is apparently what's poisoning everybody in Derry is being exposed to its poop in the water system. Becky's speechless.
Yeah.
She has nothing to add there.
And not a single thing. I wish you could see my face right now because that would tell you everything you need to know about what I think about that. Why did they feel the need to explain that? Because I've loved the book since my youth. I have enjoyed the original miniseries since my early 40s. And I am enjoying this TV show. And I have been fine, even watch the movies. I have been fine knowing that it just has a supernatural power that gets inside of people. Did you need... Okay, I know you don't watch The Walking Dead, Mandy, but for all my peeps out there who watched Daryl Dixon, The Walking Dead spinoff, there is an episode where they're in Paris. Don't ask me how they got to Paris, because that's some shit kind of storytelling. But they have to go through this tunnel to get to England. I don't know. And they have to walk through this tunnel, and this tunnel is full of bat shit, and they all go, which is where I learned what bat shit crazy means.
Yeah, that guano makes you crazy.
Yeah, but that's what I was like, okay, so we just have bat shit making people. Really? I'm sorry.
It's just too on the nose. No, I see what you're saying. That's exactly, you articulated it better, but you've actually helped me to understand what I'm struggling with this whole plot line. They are making this too much like Terminator or something. Like it's too sci-fi at this. Like there's part of the nature of it that just does not need stories about its shit. I can't be more articulate than that. No.
I don't know why they felt the need to do that. And something else about this that bothered me, it was cool when one of the leaders, I don't know, was explaining to us that, which we already knew, but I guess also for people who have never watched or read the books and this is all brand new to them, maybe that was just exposition to help them understand. But I said anyway, but they're telling the story and how he's getting more aggressive and the big act of violence is coming. And then the young girl's like, yeah, then 27 years later, we get peace. They could have taken 20 minutes of that sewer bullshit scenes with the military and given us more of this conversation, a meaningful conversation between these people who have been battling this evil for all of these years.
Yes.
Because that felt shoved in my face super quick and then it was gone.
Very quick. And then it was gone.
This could have been a great scene.
And we've got 3 more episodes, but we've discussed that one of the things that we were really excited about was for them to take the opportunity to really flesh out the Native community and their contribution to the lore here. Mm-hmm. And I agree with you. Like I would have taken a whole lot less military industrial complex goes to the sewer and more exploration of them and their history. We don't know who any of these people are other than Rose. I don't know that once I've heard them refer to themselves as Friends of Maturin. I've just heard that around, but I've never heard it on the show. And that is what I would like to see more of.
I just want everyone to know, as Mandy's going through the episode breakdown, everywhere I have Shaw or Bowers' name written, it says fucking Shaw, fucking Bowers.
That's what they deserve.
It's all throughout here. So anyway, carry on.
Then it's what I'm calling transport day. We go. Hank is getting ready to go to Shawshank. He's getting on the bus. He looks terrible. We can tell he's really been through some shit. I mean, speaking of people who look like they've been rode hard and put up wet, like I hope it's been months, because if it's only been a few days since he was sitting in the interrogation room with Charlotte Hanlon, then he's had a rough few days.
He looks like Obama did at the end of his inauguration.
Yes.
Like he went into jail as Obama on first election, and he was heading on the bus looking like Obama at the end of his term. Yeah.
Yeah. And I wrote fuck Bowers. I got that in there.
I titled this fucking Bowers in the bus.
What? That's a good one. Genuinely scariest moment for me, or at least creepiest moment, was the cop.
In the window.
Cop Pennywise. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And that's when Charlotte's like, oh shit, this ain't right.
Yeah, that gave me the heebie-jeebies. So Charlotte does get a little glimpse of Pennywise posing as a security guard who is just foaming at the mouth with glee because Hank is getting on that bus.
Well, that, and the dad tries to kill Hank, and people are going, I mean, he's like, this is like his car. It's a carnival for him.
Yeah, just fear and anger and all that is ratcheting up, and you can feel the mob just getting foaming at the mouth, getting ready to do something. And then Phil and Susie's dad pops out and threatens him. And yeah, it was Charlotte's really getting an eyeful of Derry and what it's really like, which is convenient because the next scene is we're back at the Hanlon house, and Leroy is finally going to come clean to an extent and tell Charlotte that they need to move back on base because it's not safe for them to be living in Derry.
Yeah, I liked that part because we saw a lot of cracks in the foundation of their marriage last week. And I loved that he could come home and say, look, there's something I got to tell you. It's going to sound crazy, but I just need you to believe me. And she does. Obviously, she's seen things that help her want to believe that. But also, I think it
shows that they trust each other. Yes. And that deep down, he is.
Yes. Yeah. It gave us a much needed rejuvenation or whatever in their marriage.
And just to see how much of a partnership that they are. This is where you start to see for the first time in this episode. Well, actually, I guess we saw it when he was talking to Shaw. Leroy is operating from a place of fear.
Yes. I completely agree with you. 100% agree.
Then we're back at Shaw's office, and Rose is
fucking
laying
Shaw.
into him.
It's fucking Shaw, Mandy.
We're fucking Shaw's office. Rose is laying into his ass because he's what he did. Honestly, I say that she didn't lay into him enough.
No, she didn't.
She should have gone the fuck off on him. She should have. I was kind of disappointed in the level, but maybe it's because she's playing the long game and she knows that she has to stay smart.
Yeah, but also her nephew is in their custody, and he flat out says he's not going to let him go until the quote unquote operation is complete. And so she does call him out on his bullshit. But what annoyed me the most about this is this. So he was given a medication that made all of his memories come back before he got back to Derry. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, that's what he said.
Seriously?
Just drop that in there.
Was that necessary?
Well, I have a couple of theories. Either that's really clunky writing, and this is just going to be a MacGuffin that's thrown in, or I don't even know if that's the right word, Deus Ex Machina, maybe. I don't know. Just like a very handy plot point that's thrown in here that maybe never get, because I couldn't imagine how they would have enough time left in 3 episodes to really run down that track again. So if he truly was given some medication that made him remember this, and that's just, they're not going to go into it.
But it would make sense as to why he's been in the military looking for this for so long. Longer than his return to Derry, right?
Right, but I'm with you. Like, what I'm trying to say is, like, I have a theory that could be true, that the medication story is not true, that he started to, like, some part of him, maybe because he looked into the deadlights when he was a kid, and that's how Pennywise gets inside you. So it's possible that Pennywise was using him still to bring him back, and that this is all part of Pennywise's master plan to try to get himself out of there, and he's using Shaw's own hubris. Or the second theory, which is he really took a medication sometime that made him remember all of this. And if that is true, lame. That would just feel like they were like, how are we going to make it so he remembered all of this and that he decided to come back? I don't know. I'm hoping that there's more about that down the road, that we get that either fleshed out or we find out that it's all been a lie, because if that just gets inserted into the plot and then nothing else gets said about it, I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah, and to your point, Rose says to him, you plan to put a leash on this thing. It can't be controlled, Francis. You really wouldn't be doing this if you remembered everything.
Right. So it's possible. I feel like I'm being very disgruntled towards the writers in this episode, and I'm trying to rein that back a little bit, because I have trusted them through a lot of this series. And so maybe this was just one episode that just wasn't my cup of tea, and that they're going to, but I'm just saying right now, if they just dropped that into the plot and then never explore that further, I'm going to be marking off. I'm going to be taking off half a point.
Yeah, I agree.
Then you kind of see the Hanlons coming on base, moving the town in. Will looks like he's kind of worried, I'm sure he's
sweet boy. He's so worried about his friends
and how he's going to be able to help them.
Let's talk about Rose visiting Taniel. The only thing I really want to say about that part is the dickhead guard making them talk in English. They're using this poor kid. This kid is probably could be killed by taking him into the sewers, and they're risking his life to catch it rather than setting him free.
Like, mentally tortured him, and now they're going to take him into a fucking sewer with a killer clown.
Yeah, and I just feel like Rose was just basically like, fuck these assholes, keep the stagger, and keep yourself safe.
Yeah. It pissed me off.
It was shit. It was just another part of representation of how people in power abuse that power against the marginalized.
Yeah, and let's give the writers credit for, again, they're doing a phenomenal job of pointing out these little moments of blatant racism that are going on around these people, and the reality that they have to live under. Yeah, I agree. And speaking of TikTok, there was this whole thing this past week on there. It was timely that I saw that, because there were these two girls that went viral in Texas, I believe, because their teacher literally refused to let them speak in Spanish in class, and her only excuse for that is, I can't understand what you're saying. In Texas. Do you know how much of the population of Texas, this is a rhetorical question, is Hispanic? There is no official language of the United States. There have been people speaking Spanish there longer than there have been people speaking English. So I hope that those kids' parents sue. It was ridiculous. Not as shocking to know that it happened in the 1950s in a TV show. Pretty disgusted that it still happens in real life in 2025. That was one of the ways that, and that was very much a callback to the fact that, like we talked about last week with the native schools, and that's something that colonizers have used over and over again to control people, and when they conquer them, is to refuse to let them speak their native language. So yeah, that was great. That was good representation, if infuriating. So then Lily is going to visit Ingrid Kirsch, who we find out is, in fact, married to the butcher. And she is the Mrs. Kirsch that Bev went to see and who turned into Pennywise in Chapter 2. Was it Chapter 2 that she...
It was 2, yeah. It's after she came back to Derry.
Yeah, so we have confirmation of that. And there's also plenty of clues around that she is also Periwinkle the Clown, who is Bob Gray's daughter. You can tell, like, if you look at her apron... I don't know did you notice that? Like, first of all, she always wears red.
Yeah.
And she's also, like, when she opened the door, her apron had those little, I think they're actually called periwinkles, those little diamond-shaped patterns.
Yeah.
Clowns use. And she takes Lily in, and Lily's telling her kind of what's going on. She tells Lily that she needs to immediately go to the police. Her husband comes out of nowhere, and you could tell that he's like wanting to know where his steak is, and you could tell he's an abusive asshole.
Yeah, that was a very menacing way. He was just like in great direction, great shooting. The way he was in the shadow and he kind of steps into the light. And my biggest takeaway from this is that Ingrid's Mrs. Positivity Act that we talked about last week is slipping, because when Lily tells her they're going to go to the sewers to find Phil, and she's like, no, she like really gets very serious for once. The mask drops and she's like, no, you absolutely cannot go down there and do that. I no longer think, based on everything else that comes out in this episode, I no longer think she is, now, not to say Pennywise can't still use her, but I no longer think she is a puppet or a Team Pennywise or whatever, however you want to call it.
I am going to disagree. I do understand why you feel that way. I do feel like there's more ambiguity there than I thought initially, but I feel like the clues are all still pointing towards she is part of the rot that is there. I feel like there is a case to be made that I'm going to save this for a couple scenes down the road.
Okay.
But yes, that was one of the scarier scenes for me there. Creepy, abusive men freak me out, and especially ones that are butchers. Like, that whole scene was a little bit eerie to me. I don't like the whole poor Lily being trapped in a house with those two weirdos.
Same, but it also added to the concern that Hank mentioned last week, that if I tell, he will kill her. Now we know for sure why he's worried about that, because that man will absolutely serve her to some people with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Yeah, that guy definitely he had abuser written all over him. But what did he say that they called him? Charlie Cleaver or whatever?
I tried to remember that in the first episode, or when Charlotte meets him. I am a little sad you didn't laugh at my Silence of the Lambs joke.
Where's your Silence of the Lambs joke?
Oh, I just said it out loud that he was going to serve her
about
up.
the fava beans and the nice Chianti. Yeah, I was running my own mouth. So then we're back on base again with the Hanlon family.
She was just talking to Will about how it's not their house, but they'll be back as soon as your dad says it's okay.
And he needs to stay there on base. Didn't she tell him that?
Yeah. The real point of this conversation was that we get the news update about the bus crash, and I wrote here in my notes, she grabs the phone and starts calling all the FKs, LOL.
Good callback. The only note that I have about that scene is that Taylor Page's accent is perfect. And I really, as a Southerner, like, we're really particular about that because it's real hard to get it right. Even real Southerners often have shitty Southern accents in television. And I kind of blame that sometimes on like the director thinking that they don't sound Southern enough. Yeah. One thing I noticed is the way she says daddy is perfect.
Oh, it's great.
It's not daddy, but it's not daddy either. Like, it just, something about it just scratched my brain right. Like, it was just, I loved it. So I want to give her kudos for doing great work on that accent.
I do also want to add that we get the update from the news guy after the bus crash about the military, how they blocked off Neibolt Street due to a quote unquote gas leak. So imagine that
I'm never going to hear gas leak again without thinking it's not the military trying to pull some shady shit. Yeah.
Because that's the police, the military, the government. We don't know what's really going on.
I don't know what they do. So we're back to Sandpipe. Maddie is looking like a damn corpse still.
First, Ronnie looks mad because Marge shows up. And I loved the way Marge in this section says X, like with the patty cakes, like so dramatic, teenage.
Oh, yeah.
Dramatic.
It was very 90210.
Yeah. So of course, Ronnie again says they got to go to the police, and they can't, obviously, because they're not going to believe him. But if they can find Phil, that they're still alive. So it all boils down to, okay, we're going to take these drugs. Mom eats them like M&Ms. And then they're going to go save Phil. And that's where Ronnie, Rich were very like, sure.
Right. But they asked him like, we're gonna be okay or something like that. And Maddie, there was something they specifically asked. I wish I'd written it down. And very deliberately, that was how I further knew that Maddie was dead, was that they asked something along the lines of, we're gonna be all right, or we're gonna be okay. And then very deliberately, they don't show Maddie answering the question.
No, but what they did show was when they all agreed to go, the look of relief on his face, like, oh, thank goodness they're coming.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, Pennywise is happy right now.
Yeah, and just the way that Richie was kind of like hesitant about going into the sewer further proved to me that Richie probably ain't long for this world. Rich, keep calling him Richie accidentally. So then we're at the Neibolt Street house. Everybody is starting to Operation Pennywise Poop. They're going to go down there.
Before you go into that, I got to say, so my big revelation last week about the well house was actually wrong. It is built on a well.
I know.
So
I
wrote here, it didn't belong to a family named the Wells, ? This is what I'm finding most confusing about this episode, LOL. That's my first note.
That's my first note. Exclamation point. The well house. And then my second note is great moments in bad idea history. And my third note is this is a terrible idea. This was the Buffy episode that I did not want.
I thought of you when they're doing the voiceover and detailing what the plan is going to be. But as we're getting the voiceover, the military is actually doing the plan. And yes. I thought of that episode where they are going to go try to find Adam, who is the military's crazy creation to super soldier or whatever. I was like, Mandy is going to hate this.
I did. I hated every single moment of it. And during all of this, we do still see Dick. Poor Dick Halloran is trapped down there and he's in his own head, and his grandma, he's in the bathroom with his grandma.
Which explains the drain and the door slam that we saw in an earlier Shine moment he had this season. I was so glad that was explained. The drain.
Yeah. So maybe the medicine thing will come back too. This again, I feel like I'm being pretty hard on them, but I need to try to like remember that there have been moments like this that they've shown that they can do the payoff. So we've still got 3 episodes left. But at any rate, I did like this part. I enjoyed this part. Yeah, I loved how they shot Dick from the ground. You know, he had, in his mind or wherever he's at, he had fallen. But I think it was very deliberately to reflect when he was living in terror of his dad/granddad and how he was a small child at that time and felt unprotected.
Yeah.
So this guy comes in and he's threatening him. He's wanting him to open his box, his lockbox. The lockbox is his psyche?
That is straight out of Dr. Sleep. Do you remember when he's teaching Danny about The Shining, he talks about locking
your conscience
away or whatever, however he phrased it, in a box and don't set it free. So what I think that was memories of past, like almost like he took all of the negative things that had happened in his life and locked them in that box, or it's part of his power because which I think the granddad or dad was telling him this is too much power to be locked away. So I almost feel like it was part of his power or something. Because when he's talking he's like, I know what you and that bitch say to each other telepathically. I know I may not have the gift, but I know about it. And it makes me just go back to when Dick says it wasn't supposed to see us. And I think at that point we realized Pennywise, it's now a 2-way street and Pennywise can get into his head. So I feel like now Pennywise has unlocked that fear or that power or something.
I think it's his inner being. I was interested to see what you thought about, because I had a hard time trying to. I think I know what they're doing, but I did remember that box was from Dr. Sleep, and that he'd had that talk with Danny. And I think the way that he phrased it was basically like Danny was going crazy because he couldn't control the shine. And so he was trying to tell him to take all of that fear and negativity and all of that, and like the overwhelmingness of his power, and like keep it in that box so that he controlled it and it didn't control him. Not it, but his power.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's what was in that box was his fear.
So I think we agree about that. It's hard to articulate exactly, but I see where they're going with it.
I'm here for it.
Yes, I like that. And I think that what it has now done is that it can get into it's gotten to the deepest recesses of Dick Halloran's mind.
And his power.
Yes, and his
he
power.
Can use it now, which, as much as this show can do wrong, one of the things this show gets right is these meaningful, suspenseful moments, not counting Uncle Sam that we're going to talk about in a minute. The way they build up to it, but that I call it the Halloran or the Dick music. That raw, you know what I'm talking about? And it just intensifies and intensifies. And the music, the suspense building, and then the box opening up and Dick just grabbing his head.
Yeah.
I was like, I felt
Tense.
that. Like, like I was like, my anxiety was up. So well done on that.
The psychological horror, when they stick with that, when they're in the milieu of the like supernatural horror and the psychological terror, they do a fantastic job. So those were some of my favorite parts. Now we got to get to Skeleton Uncle Sam.
Oh, jeez.
Who greenlit this?
I don't know. I remembered us talking about in the beginning of the first episode when two-headed It Baby is born, that these writers know there is a little bit of campy humor in it, in all the different iterations and variations. So I am believing that they did that on purpose. Otherwise,
it was too much.
I need to have, it was entirely too much.
It did not work as humor, and it was too over the top as a wink to the camp. That's where the episode jumped the shark. Because again, like part of the reason that worked, that we talked about in the first episode with the two-headed baby and whatnot, is because these are kids that they're trying to scare.
That is a good point. These are grown-ass men.
These are grown men. Like, I think that if I were walking through like Slaughterhouse, the haunted house attraction here in Hermitage, Tennessee, and zombie Uncle Sam jumped out at me, I would laugh my ass off.
Yeah, and it didn't help with the "I want you"
the "I
comment.
Want
yeah, that's all I really have to say about the non-focal point military people. Is it just that whole thing was just dumb. The way they all get separated, Taniel breaking and running for it, and the guy emptying a gun. Really,
where it could be ricocheting and hitting him.
That was just it. I know it led to Taniel dropping the dagger, which is important later, but another stupid moment. It bothered me.
Yeah,
I did like.
We're gonna move on from.
Yeah, let's go ahead because I want to get into the Hanlon side of it.
So I love though that the kids were high as kites walking through the sewer. And Rich and Marge, like they were maybe my favorite part of the episode was that scene with Rich and Marge holding hands, walking through the sewer. He says
how he stole his mama's Noxzema sometimes. Yes! That's why his hands are so soft. And I wrote, this is where I wrote in my notes, I need, and need is in bold capital letters, Rich and Marge to be the parents of Richie Tozier.
Yeah, that would be sweet. Oh. Okay.
I mean, I know it's...
So this is the place to talk about that, though. That was I told you I saw that TikTok. So it's interesting that you saw that too. But what they didn't say was that Rich might be Richie Tozier's dad, but that can't be right because
It
his last
can't be
name's
right
not
because the last
Tozier.
name isn't the same. When I said it out loud, but maybe Marge had this loving connection with Rich throughout the next however many years, and she marries and has a baby and names that baby Richie after Rich, who probably, like we figured out, is going to die before this is over.
Yeah, that was the theory that the person I was talking about on TikTok had, and that absolutely makes a lot of sense. And that would be interesting for you too, Becky. I know you're not on TikTok. I'll see if I can find that specific one, and if it's also on Instagram, I'll send it to you because I think you'd find it interesting. They go through like certain facial feature or facial expressions that she makes that are kind of call back to Richie Tozier's facial expressions in the It movie and some of the things they say. It was very convincing. Yeah, it'd be really cool to think at least one more of these kids is going to make it through this whole experience.
And, and if it leads to more joy of this universe coming together, I'm all here for it.
Yeah, I would like that. So then, we see Leroy and Russo walking around, weapons out, looking for It. And all of a sudden, Leroy sees Charlotte. And I wrote, ha ha ha, Charlotte popping up out of the water.
That's my girl.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And he's freaked out. And to his credit, doesn't spend a whole lot of time sitting around navel gazing, being like, this can't possibly be happening. But that was about the time the kids came around the corner, wasn't it?
Yeah. I wrote here, Hanlon thinks he sees Charlotte and shoots her in the head, realizing it's It, creating these hallucinations. So he instructs Polly to shoot anything that shouldn't be there. So, of course, they run into the kids.
Right. I want to say, though, that I give a lot of shit to the CGI of it all and feels kind of over the top and campy sometimes. I liked that.
It was a great scene.
That would work. Like, that was great use of the CGI. I loved the little, I'm It face that she made and then, scampered off. I did enjoy that. But then the kids come around the corner and Russo, who we all knew was a red shirt in this series, gets shot because he's saving Leroy from accidentally shooting his own son.
Yeah, he's like, I see them, I see them, I see them.
Yeah. But this is where I want to say,
how does that man have no fear when all he shows is fear?
Right. And then I'm not even saying it in a bad way. He's not cowardly, none of that, but he's absolutely acting from a place of worry and concern about his family, which is based in fear. Yeah.
It doesn't.
So do you feel like they're going to explain that at some point?
I don't know how they can. I really don't know at this point how they can explain away all of that and it makes sense, because unless he was maybe given a drug that made his fear come back and he just didn't tell anybody. It's
more of these. This is like
it doesn't track, and it didn't track last week, and it's not tracking now, and I don't see how they're going to make it track to the end. So I told myself after my second watch and finishing these notes that I am going to remove the fear, the Hanlon fear from my brain, and only focus on the
rest of the storyline.
Yes, because I do not, maybe they'll surprise me and I hope they do, but I don't see how they can fix that.
Well, they're running out of time, and it just feels like at this point we've got some things that just really desperately need to be wrapped up that have not been wrapped up. And I hope I'm on episode 8 that we're recording, and I am eating crow on all of this, and so excited that they have been able to land this plane less wobbly than I'm feeling right now. Because
I think it's going to be a bumpy landing, but I still think we're going to be happy. But I'm with you.
I can't do that because I feel like this is a massive part of the entire plot. Why introduce Leroy into this damn cellar at all if the theory that he doesn't have fear isn't backed up with something in the plot? They feel like they have to address that.
They would have been better off saying he doesn't have any remorse or
something like that.
Something like that would have made more sense. But the fear, it's not selling.
Maybe even just explain that, he doesn't have a fear of the supernatural, or that he doesn't have, or that he has only very specific fears, even any of that. But just, you can't throw into the plot that this guy is basically Superman and then have him reacting like a very normal husband and father when faced with the idea that their family might be in danger from both a racist town and a supernatural alien being that lives in the sewer.
Yeah.
So
it's weird. I did like the moment when Hanlon realizes that he's shot Will, and Polly's last words are "make it count." And I took that as, don't let me have died in vain.
yeah,
Make this worthwhile. And I thought, well, they didn't give Polly a whole lot.
at least they gave him some dignity in death.
I thought that was a well done
Yeah.
thing.
So they find out, of course, that Maddie is in fact Pennywise, that he's been tricking them the whole time.
Loved that reveal.
Yes, that worked. I loved it.
The way the missing
They're kinda
kids are
high.
popping up out of
Yeah.
the water. And at that point, Maddie, aka it, starts doing the spin around the pole, which convenient that there's a stripper pole right there for him to do his dance. And then his head starts opening up. And then they see Maddie's dead body come out of the water.
Yeah.
And they're all like, Valium or not, oh,
They start losing their shit.
shit.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was so well done. I'm sorry. I'm with you. Maybe it's just because I've just immersed myself in it so much. You're right. I did not get the slightest bit scared.
I just
At
don't
Bill
find this
Skarsgård's
Pennywise scary. That's one of my
Pennywise.
notes. Which is why I guess it's crazy to me that there are people out there that saw this episode and were like, this is awesome because Pennywise has finally showed up. But I also want to be clear, I'm frustrated with those people that they weren't enjoying the first 2 or 3 episodes, which I thought were phenomenal.
I think it's been better without Pennywise. Not
Right.
that Pennywise isn't isn't the main point of the story. I'm not saying that.
But I just think less is more.
But I think having him kept secret or kept hidden behind shadows or
Right.
hidden inside these actions of these other people was really building the tension more. I find
Yes.
non-clown Pennywise moments more intense and scarier than when he's full on in costume.
Something about his wig, it just reminds me, I think what it is it reminds me of Bozo, who in my mind is the least scary of all the clowns. I mean, Bozo, like,
I think Cookie was less scary than Bozo.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, like, of the big guys, like Bozo used to like let you throw balls in a bucket and get prizes for it. Like, I don't know. I'm just not scared of Bozo's hair. I'm not scared of this iteration of Pennywise. But I did think it was a great reveal. And I did like that Pickle Dad made another appearance.
Oh, I love that. I saw that here. Lily Falls sees Pickle Dad again. Yay. I don't know why I said yay, but in my notes, but I did. I just think Pickle Dad is more
Pickle Dad is great.
interesting.
You know what?
I wish they would have kept him as Pickle Dad when he went to eat her. And I think it would have been scarier. But let me tell you something. That crap, this pillar shit, I liked the 13 pillars a little bit last week just because it was an interesting little twist and would explain why it never roamed from Derry.
Yeah.
But this insanely, supposedly horrifying being in the midst of about to eat a small child, it made me think of when, okay, got it. Thank you, brain. You know, when the cartoons, it was like Tom and Jerry or something like those cartoons when the shadow.
I just love that you just thanked your own brain for
right.
You have a lucid
I've been looking
moment.
for a way to describe this, and I finally have it. So the shadow of this giant, big hulking dog comes up, and then the camera pans over, and it's like a little tiny dog, or something is big and inflated, and then it just like you hear like a balloon pop, and the air goes out, and it just kind of fizzles away into nothing. That
Yeah.
I laughed out loud when he like shrunk up and ran away like a tiny little deflate. That was
Yes.
so not scary. And it was
Yeah.
that's not what Pennywise is. Sure, the kids in the books and whatnot had ways to repel him, but I don't like the stone.
It wasn't time for that.
It didn't work for me.
Yeah, and one of the things that I also noticed for the first time that I've been trying to put a pin in since this iteration of Pennywise came around in 2017, he sounds like Scooby-Doo.
I did not get that, but I'm going to go back and listen.
Go back and watch the scene in the sewer.
Duck and cover.
Yes, he almost said Ruh-roh. Like that was how much he sounded like Scooby-Doo in that. Again, not real scared of Pennywise.
So we're back at Ingrid's, and she goes to get in the car, and she discovers Hank is in the back seat. And I did like the bait and switch where they made it look like he was kidnapping her to get her out there. I think they let it carry on just a little bit too long. And also TV kissing, sometimes they get it right and sometimes they get it wrong.
Grabbing your lips over each other's face.
Yes, that was like, I'm like, I don't even want to see how y'all would do it because that is just messy.
Well, I didn't look up the age gap between those two, but I know that like Madeline Stowe is like 67, and I can't think that Hank is anywhere near 60. I think
Black don't crack. That man could be 88.
That is true.
Still looking like he's in his 30s.
But if I had to guess, I'd guess there's a good 15, 20 year age gap between those at least. And I'm like, get you some, girl. Yeah, I kind of dug it.
And I like the twist of him thinking that Pennywise or whatever it is, I don't think he knows the specifics, but that it caused it. So I feel like that may be the payoff when all this other stuff deflates. Maybe that'll be the payoff is Hank Grogan's something
Gonna get away
super important.
I feel like that Mrs. Kirsch's house deserves an honorable mention in this episode because it was super cute.
It was.
I love that little house.
Yeah, it's very cute.
Adorable. I still don't trust her. That was my other note there is that I know that, I think you need kudos. We need to all recognize and give Becky her flowers because you called that. It was going to end up that she was going to be the woman that Hank was messing around with. And I wasn't even sure that she was real. I was leaning towards he was like meeting with people with maybe Rose and
like-minded.
Yeah. I mean, I acknowledge that was a possibility, but I truly believe that it was going to end up that there was no white lady, that it was just he was meeting with this. Maybe it's because I keep wanting Rose's group to have a much bigger role in this whole plot than they have so far. But
and something that we need to think about as we finish this season, and should they get picked up for the other two, that the tribe, the Shakapiwa tribe, will be unpacked a whole lot more in the 30s and definitely in the 80s or in the 08 version. So
that's true.
Maybe there's a lot more to come.
Yeah, maybe that's true.
He feels like the only way to save him is for her to go see Charlotte. So she does. We don't get any of that combo, but I guess that'll be next week.
Yeah. Oh man, Charlotte doesn't need this shit, guys. Charlotte
does need this shit because she needs.
I know Hank needs help, but we are 3 episodes away from the end, and we know Charlotte's going to die, and I am dreading it. I'm dreading Hank dying, but I'm also dreading Charlotte dying, and I feel like bringing her into this shit this is what's going to get her killed.
Well,
it's probably how she'd want to go out, but I'm very worried.
If she does go out, just know that I will immediately pause the television and play Blaze of Glory by Bon Jovi and the soundtrack of Young Guns.
Appropriate. I'm going down in a blaze of glory.
I love that song.
We're back on base where Leroy Hanlon is giving his account of everything that went down in the sewers. And yet again, fucking Shaw. This motherfucker.
Yeah. Here's what I wrote. Shaw comes in, blah, blah. He's blaming the natives for what happened. They will pay for what they led them into. Excuse me, motherfucker. You did that shit. Rose told you not to go in there. That's what I wrote.
My note. What people will answer, Shaw? You did this, Shaw. 2 exclamation points. That was my only notes on that scene.
And then, of course, he asks about Dick, which takes us to the end of the episode, which was amazing.
Which was a real afterthought, too, on his part, might I add.
I know, right?
And so then Dick comes stumbling out of the sewers.
I wrote, looking super mind-fucked.
Yeah. Like, do you think Dick has been is Dick now Pennywise?
No, I don't think he's Pennywise, but I think the fact that he saw dead Polly, I just wrote here, so he sees dead people now, and whatever was in that box has been unleashed, and it doesn't look good. But I think because the way Dick had this sense of realization when he saw Polly, I don't think he's full on Pennywise, but I do think Pennywise now has basically a unlimited pass in and out of Dick's mind.
I think he's got like a joystick, like a Nintendo controller that he can. I mean, that is kind of how he works with anybody that he infects that way, but you don't think he's necessarily infected Leroy so much as he's just inside and can see what Leroy sees. No, he can't infect Leroy because he did. We believe he did it in that episode where Leroy went into Daniel's mind last episode. So
yeah, I just think some power has been unleashed because we know that over the years Pennywise has grown from fear and eating kids and people. So it would make sense that part of what makes Pennywise grow beyond
is having control of
his. Well, I feel like Pennywise took some of Dick's power.
Okay.
But whatever he unleashed, part of that power is that Dick taught Danny to put all of that extra in and compartmentalize it, take it away. Mm-hmm. But something has clicked in Dick's mind because now he's actively seeing dead guy walk around.
Okay, so theory, if that holds true, that Dick has somehow had some of his shine compromised by Pennywise, then potentially he is now also in possession of some of Pennywise's shit.
Yeah.
Because again, when you use the phrase, be careful when you stare into the abyss, lest the abyss stare back at you. That's true of both ends of that mirror. Mm-hmm. If you're a mirror of each other somehow, then perhaps what we're going to have here is Dick really growing into his own power by having to take his shit back from Pennywise.
Yeah, I like it. I like that.
Yeah, that could be totally interesting. So that was it. That was our episode there.
Final thoughts. I'm going to say nay on this one. There were some good moments, but there was not enough to make up for the
Zombie Uncle Sam.
Yeah. So I'm going to give this 2.5 it dung infected people out of 5.
Okay. I'm right there with you. I was going to say 3 zombie stripper poles in the sewer, but honestly, they probably don't deserve, this episode probably doesn't deserve more than 2.5 because they're just they have a lot to answer for with Zombie Uncle Sam.
They got some splaining to do.
I honestly can't say if I would have been as hard on the episode if that hadn't happened. There were things that were already like, I don't know, but there was also a lot of, man, these kids are incredible actors, and I love some of the plot points that are going on. I love that we don't really know what the deal is with Maddie for a long time. I love that we're even more ambiguous about what Ingrid's got going on and what her whole deal is. But when that popped up, I was like, see, that is that shit I'm talking about right there. And so it just tainted everything else for me. But I want to reserve the right to go back and rejudge this episode after the next 3 episodes.
Yeah, I'm not jumping ship by any means. This show has really rejuvenated my love of the Stephen King genre, I finally, one of the Stephen King books that I reserved came available. So I'm listening to Insomnia right now. I'm not mad at these people. I still trust them that they're going to make the rest of these 3 episodes worthwhile. But I'm also keeping in mind that there are going to be things that you can't please everybody.
No, that is true. I'm still really excited about every week. I can't wait for the next one to come on. I'm going to reserve judgment, and I may look back, like I said, and after it's all wrapped up and be like, no, episode 5 was exactly what it was supposed to be.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to some feedback. We got a voicemail from our friend Sam. So let's hear what she has to say about this episode.
Hi, lovelies. I cannot wait to hear what you lovelies have to say. I think this episode is going to be pretty divisive among fans. I think you're either going to love it or it's going to be one of your least favorite episodes of the season for everyone. It's just there's a lot that they took risks on, and I'm not sure it's going to pay off in a lot of areas for a lot of people. I will say, though, channeling our favorite clown's little sing-song, to no surprise, I am happy that I finally got my Pennywise. When you get a creepy little sing-song with the little kid singing it first, Maddie, and then him doing it, I'm like, oh, that's all we need. Another death soundtrack for children. But it was so good. I appreciated it. The scene of, like, the teeth coming out of his head and just Pennywise coming out of his back, it just gave me the creeps, and I loved it. I thought it was a great introduction of him halfway through the season. I know we've seen other versions of him, but this is his form, and I thought it was really great. So yeah, the twists in there, I'm pretty naive when it comes to TV shows and movies. I tend to fall for the twists really easily. Even I knew something was up with Maddie just because of the lore. Like, to my knowledge, Pennywise doesn't really keep hostages in his game. Like, he tormented Henry Bowers, which is what I thought they were taking the Maddie storyline into being, like that brainwashed thing of that.
That's what I think Ingrid is.
Keep them around all this time. He likes his snacks. And so I thought it was the Henry Bowers of it all with Maddie, and then that twist, I thought it was much better earned than if he was the Henry Bowers of it all. Speaking of twists, thank goodness Hank Rogan, our beloved Hank, is okay for it.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to say that actually encapsulates more of what I thought. I don't know that initially I really thought he was Pennywise himself so much as Pennywise had sent him out to get his friends to come snack on.
Yeah.
Right now, because when they showed that footage of the bus crash and said there were fatalities, I was getting really upset. Like,
same.
Darren Machete. Thankfully, he's okay. And I did not see the twist of him and Madeline Stowe hooking up. It totally makes sense, especially when you got a glimpse of her husband earlier in the episode when Lily was over. And I'm suspicious of Madeline Stowe. I wasn't so much last week, but I'm definitely this week. I think you're right, Mandy. Like, there's something off about Madeline Stowe's character. Do we have a name for her yet?
Ingrid.
Just call her Madeline Stowe.
That works too.
I think she convinced Lily to go into the sewer. She planted the idea. I don't like it. And she so our wonderful Hank Grogan
psychological with
her, and I don't like it.
I think she did.
So we'll see how that plays out. I think maybe Madeline Stowe character is the Henry Bowers of it all this season. I love every time we go to the indigenous population there and we hear from the tribe about Pennywise and how the children of Maturin have managed this. It's just so cool to hear, and I enjoy that lore being filled in. I think after last week's episode, which was so beautiful and in depth with female warriors and in the tribe, it seemed a little stilted. That just those scenes with her and Daniel and sending them in. I mean, she tried to warn them not to, but she wanted to protect him. I don't know. It just, something about it didn't land so well with me, considering the rich depth we've gotten from her character and from the indigenous tribe. So looking into where that might be going, it might just be a thing to move the plot along, because we saw how that ended with Lily. I didn't care for the Pennywise Uncle Sam thing. I think it was cheesy. They're probably just trying to make us laugh.
That's what I
Russo,
think.
and again, I did not see that twist coming, where he had to shoot Charlotte, and then his son being there, and then as soon as his son was like around the corner, I was like, oh no. And just like you guys were saying, like you guys were saying before about he may be a man without fear, but does that mean he still makes good judgment calls? Don't just shoot anything you see in the sewers, because you can't hurt it by like that way anyway. But you can't hurt other humans. Russo was sad. I'm gonna miss you, buddy. You were fun, and you went out a hero. So Halloran's horrific flashback to his grandfather. Thanks for keeping with the lore, Machetes. What is that scene at the end? Is this just Halloran seeing more of the dead? Like, I didn't understand why he could see Russo and what that meant. Because Russo's body wasn't in there anymore. So why was his spirit still there? I don't know. I have so many questions, and I cannot wait to hear from you, lovelies. Bye.
We have that same question, Sam, about what's going on with Dick. And I think that's probably going to be him and Hank. I think will be the biggest payoffs of the season in a good way, I think. Well, because we know Dick lives, so.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how they're going to pull that off. And I want to say that something that she said that reminded, when she said that she agrees with me that there's something off about Ingrid, it reminded me of something that I noticed, which could be nothing. But one of the things that I picked up on when we first see her character as a little girl, when they flash back to the carnival in 1908 and she's Periwinkle the clown, is that she has this little trumpet that is in her lap. I don't even know if trumpet is the right word for it. It's one of those brass instruments that's like a little horn, but it has like a spiral on it. And one of the things I noticed about Pennywise's lair in this episode is that it almost looks like a nautilus. Do you know what a nautilus is? It's a shell. It's one of those shells that's got like the curve. It almost looks like a spiral staircase. That's what it looks like. And it felt like to me that there was a parallel there. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sam, for the feedback. And as always, we love hearing from you. We always value everything you have to say. It's funny how we all kind of run parallel.
I love it. Like minds.
Yeah.
Well, if you would like to leave us some feedback or send a voicemail just like Sam did, you can email or send us a voice message as an attachment to what's on tonight and the number 2 at gmail.com.
Or you can visit our Facebook page where there will be a post for the next episode, and you can leave us feedback in the comment section or send us a message through Facebook Messenger. We can be found on Instagram as well at What's On Tonight Podcast and the number 2. We would greatly appreciate it if you'd leave a comment, like, and or share on your podcast listening app of choice.
So, Mandy, how about we go explore the sewer with a bunch of dumbasses? And while there, providing we can avoid Pennywise, let's talk and share where listeners can hear us, podcast recommendations, TV suggestions, or just anything else you want to share. What you got?
Well, really, the only thing I kind of guess I have to share this week is I'm going to do an upcoming episode of Adrenaline Cinema with Mark about Guillermo del Toro's recent iteration of Frankenstein on Netflix.
I watched that on the plane to Charleston, and I am actually going to leave feedback.
Oh, yay.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go back and rewatch it again because it was so long. I watched it with my friend Terry several weeks ago, so there's stuff that I need to go back and make notes about. But I think he asked me on because my last episode of Dinner for Her was about Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley, which she wrote Frankenstein. And I'm really excited to delve back into that world again because I'm still not done. I don't know that Mark is ready for me to hijack his podcast so that I can go back off on a rant about Mary Shelley's husband. But if he lets me, I will spend 2 hours of his Frankenstein podcast talking about how much I hate Percy Shelley. So I'm kind of stoked about that, even if Mark's not after he listens to this. And other than that, I'd say Eric and I, my husband, we've discovered the show that Rob Lowe hosts. It's a game show called The Floor, and it's kind of loosely based on The Floor is Lava. It's a lot of fun. Like, this is a game show anybody could play. The categories are very, very easy, but it's a lot of fun to like second guess these people and judge their abilities when they're up there. It's just very mindless harmless fun. So if you're looking for something brainless to do, it's a good show.
Well, for me, Panels to Pixels just released their newest episode covering Gen V. If you watch that show, I highly recommend checking out Steve and Mark. They have great discussions about the show. They know so much about comic lore and all that good stuff. So it really adds a lot to their podcast. So please check them out. And as far as TV recommendations, Mandy mentioned last week Death by Lightning. So I decided to give it a watch, and oh my gosh, it was so good. It's only 4 episodes, y'all, so it's an easy watch, but so very good. You had mentioned that Ron Swanson was in it, but I did not know Bradley Whitford was in it. I love Bradley Whitford.
Yeah, he did a great job too.
But yeah, it was a great little historical drama. I don't know.
It's kind of like the West Wing, if the West Wing was about the assassination of James Garfield.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very good. As always, a big thank you to Mark and Pirate Core Entertainment for giving us this platform. Please visit the Pirate Core website. You can find the link on our Facebook page, and there you can find our podcast as well as other podcasts like our Mandy's Dinner with Her, a journal and cinema podcast that Mandy mentioned will be covering Frankenstein, and Panels to Pixels podcast, as well as other projects that Mark is working on.
And that wraps up our coverage of episode 5. We are going to be back next week to discuss episode 6, titled In the Name of the Father. I think that's where we're going to find out a lot more about Bob Gray, Ingrid's father.
Yeah, we better get something better. That's all I'm saying.
I have faith. I'm going to hold out. I'm going to hold up, keep the faith going, as Billy Joel tells us we should.
I think Wilson Phillips says it better when they say just hold on.
Yeah, hold on for one more episode.
3 more episodes. We'd like to thank everyone so much for listening. Be thankful for what you have. You'll end up having more. If you concentrate on what you don't have, you will never, ever have enough. So during this time of Thanksgiving, always take a moment to be thankful for the blessings in life. I'm Becky, and I'm thankful for Mandy.
I'm Mandy, and I'm thankful for my bestie, Becky.
Love you.
Love you.
We will catch you next week when we grab the remote and see what's on tonight. Bye.